Welcome to November to Remember on Bloodbath & Beyond. Today we review the Human Centipede first sequence, 100% medically accurate.
Written and directed by Tom Six, starring Ashley C. Williams, Ashlynn Yennie, Akihiro Kitamura, and Dieter Laser. Two young women who are on their way to a party break down in the woods. They decide to hoof it through the forest, eventually finding the crazed doctor's house. The doctor, answering the door, realizes that he may have his 2 star pieces for his Human Centipede. He captures them, ties them up, and eventually sews their mouths to each other's asses.
So what do we like? Considering the subject matter of this film, the cinematography and production value was extremely high and well done. I thought the cinematography was fantastic. They had a lot of dolly shots and it just looked gorgeous.
It had almost an artsy kind of flair to some of the shots. Now, at its core, the Human Centipede is body horror. It's nice to have a movie where your primary motivation, I guess, is not fear of death, but fear of change and the unknown, which hasn't really been the trend lately. Essentially taking your mad scientist character and giving it to somebody, an actor like Dieter Laser. He absolutely steals the show with his performance. He's a stone-cold psychopath until he loses his cool, and then it's frightening to watch. He didn't really need to bring his A game for this, but he did. He's a trooper, and the film's all the better for it. This is why you watch this film. You come in for the premise, people talk about it like, oh, they sew their asses to other people's mouths, and you're like, oh, I gotta see this thing, but Dieter Laser is the movie.
The acting was pretty well done across the board. Akihiro had a great performance as the head of the centipede. You can see in his eyes how frightened he is. And I think that's kind of what it's like with everybody else involved too. There's not a lot of talking in the movie, and when Akihiro does talk, he's speaking Japanese. So they're forced to use their eyes and their facial expressions to portray all of their emotions. And it really, really works. And they look terrified, out of their minds, exactly how we would, I imagine, if we were sewed to asses.
I'd like to think I wouldn't have to test that theory, but
who knows?
But it was an interesting choice by the filmmakers to have the head of the centipede, who's the only one able to communicate, to be the only one who's not speaking English.
I think that was really interesting, and I think it was well done because it shows that they don't need to try and talk to each other. It's an interesting concept.
It kind of means they're all in the same boat now. I think a lot of people went into it expecting an absolute gore fest. And I kind of appreciated that that wasn't the route that they took. One day they were the Human Centipede. He kind of took the high road on that, and I respect that decision by the filmmaker.
Now, what didn't we like?
While the cinematography and the acting for the most part was spot on, the movie, to me, seemed kind of boring in parts. Sometimes it seemed to drag. A lot of the times it didn't go anywhere. For a movie whose key principle is this Human Centipede experiment, it took a while getting to that point. I think with an idea like this as its selling point, you'd want to get into the Human Centipede portion of it pretty near to the beginning to have your time with it.
I think they could have done more as well with the Human Centipede. As an idea, it's like, oh, this would be really cool or really funny or interesting. In practice, a Human Centipede can't do much. It can crawl around, and that's all it can do. So they're either not crawling around, or they're crawling around.
And fetching a newspaper.
Yeah, and as they're crawling around, you know as an audience that they can never escape this way. You kind of need some things in a movie to be believable, and I didn't think that their decisions were remotely believable. They can't escape this place. It's impossible.
Well, we did have hope when the cops arrived.
We did.
I like those cops. They weren't the dumb, oh, there's nothing going on here? Okay, have a nice day, sir. No, they were a little more skeptical, and they knew something was going on. You don't look at a guy like Dieter Laser and you think, everything's A-okay.
No. Now it's time for our final thoughts and ratings. This movie was actually really surprising because the production value was amazing. They had great cinematography, great lighting, and the acting was really, really well done. And you can't ask for more, especially given the subject matter. And kudos to the cast who had their faces in asses. That's a really bold commitment for any actor or actress to kind of say, hey, I've been in the Human Centipede and this is what I've done. There were some issues that I had with some of the pacing. It did drag a little bit towards the middle of the film, and some of the character decisions I didn't quite believe. But all in all, this movie was way better than a lot of people make it out to be. So I'm gonna give this 4 trank darts out of 5.
Well, it seems clear that most people dismiss the Human Centipede as just sheer shock value for the sake of it. I feel it had more to offer. Unfortunately, that was mostly in the technical achievements. The acting, especially Dieter Laser, was fantastic. The 2 girls mumbled through most of the movie, but it's hardly their fault. But as far as the story goes, it's just another take on the mad scientist kind of thing. He had no real motivation for doing what he was doing. We know nothing about him. He was a disgraced surgeon, and I guess wants to continue practicing, but in weird ways. We don't know why he's got this obsession about the Human Centipede. Again, it just seems like the filmmakers thought of, hey, what's the most disgusting, shocking thing we can think of? Let's do it. The technical elements of the film elevate it to more than just another piece of schlock. With that, I'll give it 3.5 broken glasses of water out of 5.
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video, and let us know your comments on the Human Centipede in the comments section. If you haven't seen it, it's probably on Netflix. It has been for years. And I also have a link in the description where you can find it. I think Shout Factory just put out a brand new Blu-ray collection so you can watch all 3 films. And if this is your first time here, please subscribe to the channel to stay updated with our reactions, reviews, and games of What Would You Do.